Thank you so much for joining me. I'm meteorologist Brian Shields on this Thursday. Bigger systems to the north, watching some dust and drier air. I want to get into some higher seas, some gusty winds that are headed our way across parts of the Caribbean, and these big systems marching across and how they may not impact us greatly across the Caribbean, but a lot of action just swinging up to the north. Now here's a look at a different vantage point before I get into the big picture weather. This here is the water vapor. It's a snapshot of the mid-levels of the atmosphere. It's what's going on well above our heads. And where you see this orange shading, this is some dry air in place. And this here is not only dry air, but cool air. This is from a front that's moving by that's going to clip the Yucatan of Mexico. So that's what's happening with the bigger fronts to the north. They just kind of scrape us by, which is typical in our northern tiers. But in this dry air right here, we've had some of the dust. Thank you for sharing your comments if you had some of the dust around. That's what this is. It's a weather community. Thank you for sharing it with others, subscribing, letting us know what's going on where you are. Now, here's the big picture weather. We've got one front that's moving into the Bahamas, parts of Florida, Cuba, and the Yucatan. That's going to work its way through Bermuda. Then look what happens next. This is by late tomorrow. Another system develops, but what happens with these systems are a lot of the energy goes more up to the north. It doesn't dive down quite as much, and that's why we're not going to see this really sweeping through some other parts of the Caribbean. But you see here by Saturday, this is going to be a big Atlantic storm, a nor'easter, if you will, impacting parts of New England, the mid-Atlantic of the United States, and then watching the tail end of the front, some of the showers back through Bermuda by Sunday, and you see the tail end of the front through the Bahamas. This is going to bring a lot of snow, several inches of snow, up to a foot, even foot and a half of snow in interior sections of Massachusetts, and this is really going to crank up the seas. My friends in Nova Scotia will get clipped by this as well, watching this in the Atlantic region of Canada. This is by Monday, but you see the tail end of the front right here. Look how it kind of stays generally to the north of the Caribbean, just kind of moving by the Bahamas. That energy really pulls up here. But then by next week, another front. I mentioned this is Monday. Look here, building again. Now this one could be a little different. So this one will really sprawl out, become a big system again Tuesday into Wednesday. And this may surge in slightly cooler air, slightly a little slight wind direction for us, change in wind direction, I should say, by the time we get deeper into next week. So the big Atlantic storm system, another one behind it. The second one, that one may dive down a little bit closer to the Caribbean. I'll be watching it for us. Now, as far as the waves go, these are in feet, and you see them, this shading here. This is by the time we get into early on Saturday. That pink shading, that's about 20 feet or about 6 meters, 6 to even 8 meters as far as the seas go. But as we get our way into the weekend and that first storm system builds, look at this Atlantic storm system. So yeah, one there, another one here, very high seas, choppy in the Caribbean. We're looking at a few feet here, upwards of 6, 7, 8 feet. And then once we get our next system into next week, you can see again the Gulf of Mexico also rocky, but it's really what we would expect this time of year. Bigger systems causing big issues with the seas, north and central Atlantic. But you see here, this is by Monday, getting choppier in the Gulf and parts of the Caribbean. So a little heads up there, and we'll see how this next system develops and impacts the seas. The seas are even going to be higher, choppier in the Bahamas by the middle and later portions of next week with that second system. That one will be a little bit closer. Now, short term, this is today. Winds are coming out of the north through the northern Bahamas, parts of Cuba, and the Yucatan of Mexico. More of that easterly flow in Belize. Winds pick up a little bit. ABC Islands will have some of the winds around 56 kilometers an hour, gusts to 35 or 40 miles per hour. Then a southerly flow in the Gulf and higher winds. Winds could be gusting upwards of about 50 miles per hour, 80 kilometers an hour with this front that's going to move by on Saturday. That's the one that will bring the snow up toward New England, and then behind it, cooler again. Generally, that predominant easterly flow as we work our way across the Caribbean. As we get into Sunday, you can see the next storm system developing here. That'll be one that moves across and may eventually bring the northerly winds in for more of us later next week. So I'll be getting into that further in subsequent videos. Now, again, these fronts have been mainly staying up to the north. Last winter, we did have a few more of them kind of creep even into our central and southern zones of the Caribbean. But a spotty shower or two. Rain chance overall has been down. As I mentioned right off the bat, we've been watching some of that dust around. As we get into our Saturday, there's that system that is going to work its way. You can see here Gulf of Mexico into Florida. Watching out for some heavier weather potential in Florida and even the northern Bahamas on Saturday. Northern Bahamas will see a better chance of rain later in the day Saturday and Saturday night. So giving you that heads up right here. But the rain chance elsewhere is not too high. 30% chance tomorrow in Trinidad and Tobago. Grenada, a 10 to 20% chance with some dust around, so lower air quality. Rain chance St. Vincent and the Grenadines only 20% and about a 20% chance in Barbados. St. Lucia, the next 3 days, minimal 10 to 20% chance. Martinique, we're looking at about a 20% chance and a 10 to 20% chance from Dominica, even less up through Guadeloupe. If you get a shower, passing variety, that's all. 20% chance today, Antigua and Barbuda, and a 20% chance, St. Kitts, Nevis, and Montserrat. Holding on to about a 20% chance. Had a few spotty showers around St. Bart's and Anguilla, St. Martin, Saba, Statia. Rain chance 20%. 30% chance for today in Puerto Rico, 20% chance tomorrow. Virgin Islands, British and U.S. Virgin Islands, rain chance 10 to 20. Dominican Republic, 20% chance, 20% chance the next couple days in Haiti. Now, as we get into Jamaica, rain chance slightly higher, just closer to the fronts. Not a washout, but we have about a 30% chance of a shower. 30% chance today in the Cayman Islands, 20% chance for tomorrow, and a 20% chance across the Bahamas. Again, watching the northern Bahamas in particular, that's where the rain chance overall the next few days will be higher. Turks and Caicos, rain chance 20%. 20% chance in Cuba. Fronts just kind of scooting by. We will have some cooler air though. Belize, rain chance small today, a 10% chance, 10 to 20% chance in the Yucatan of Mexico. Rain chance in Aruba on the small side, we're looking at a 20% chance in Curacao and Bonaire with some dust around. Bermuda, watching out for these fronts, and we'll see that rain chance down the road getting even higher. Costa Rica, rain chance has been down overall. We've seen that trend over the last week, week and a half. Guyana, rain chance about 30% tomorrow, and looking at about a 30% chance tomorrow as well in Suriname, 20 to 30% chance in northern Venezuela. All right, so a lot of different things we're covering as we go throughout the winter. The areas of dust, overall the low rain chance. Major cold fronts have been up to the north. Gulf and Atlantic waters, watching the high seas, choppy at times in the Gulf and the Caribbean, especially next week. And I'll be watching that bigger front next week and just how close it gets. Plus, I'll continue to monitor the earthquakes. We've been okay over the last few days or so, but watching that carefully on this channel. So thanks for joining me, and I hope you have a really good rest of your day.